my friend! Today I'm gonna show you how to make an ambient guitar wall of sound like you heard in the intro. You need three things. The first is a modulation pedal with a vibrato setting or vibrato mode. Second is a reverb pedal with a shimmer mode that can give you upper and lower octaves. And lastly, you need a delay pedal that has some kind of shimmer mode in it where you can add intervals to the repeat or harmonizers to the repeat. And I'm going to explain in a minute why you need that. So we're going to start with the easiest setting, which is on the vibrato pedal or the modulation pedal. Right now, as you can see, I'm using my Strymon Ola in vibrato mode, and the reason why we want to use that, it's to give some movement and some life to the soundscape, because when you don't use modulation, it's gonna be super stale, and I think it's a lot better when you get movement into it. So for example, if I play the reverb patch that we're gonna see in a minute, but without the vibrato, without any modulation, it's gonna sound like this. It's cool, it sounds a little bit like an organ, right? But it's gonna get old after a while to have a sound like this. So instead, we're gonna add a lot of modulation. So it's actually my favorite setting that I stored into my Strymon Ola. So all knobs are as shown. The mix knob and the depth knob are all the way up so that you can really hear it. Then the tone is slightly brighter. And the speed is really slow because we don't want it to sound like an alien sound, like rah, 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 something like this. So when I activate it, here's how it sounds. So without it, it's just like this. And with it, so it's kind of weird just like this with my dry signal, but it's going to make a lot of sense once we add it to the reverb tone. And like I said, if the speed is too high, it's going to sound like an alien. We don't want that, right? We want super slow, wow, just to give like a nice movement to it. The second step is to add the reverb pedal. So any pedal that has a shimmer mode is gonna work. I'm using the Strymon Big Sky MX, but if you don't have it, you can use any other shimmer type of reverb. So I'm gonna go through the settings. I'm using the longest decay time possible so that it rings for as long as possible. I think it's 20 seconds or more here. Then the tone knob is all the way to the left because I want the darkest tone possible, since shimmer can be very piercing. Then the pre-delay and modulation knobs are right at noon. I'm going to add even more modulation inside of the sound, but it was not enough for me. That's why I added the vibrato separately. And then with the two parameters knob, I'm going to add a upper and a lower octave. And finally, 100% mix so that I drown my dry signal and we don't even hear it, we just hear the reverb. And also inside the pedal, it's important to have a regeneration mode so that the shimmer can regenerate itself and it doesn't die too soon. And now let's try the result. Let's try just one chord like this. Really nice. Now it's just the reverb pedal. I removed the vibrato for now, but if we add it back, it's gonna sound like this. And now the goal is to kind of strum super lightly your guitar to keep a consistent result, right? So I'm going to remove the effects and show you what to do. So let's say that I want to play a chord progression, let's say D, and then B minor, G, and E minor. What I'm going to do is to play them super soft like this. And now let's add the reverb to see what that changes when we play that. It's already super like this, but we can add a third element. But just before, I'm just going to show you, if you don't put a dark tone to your shimmer, what it's going to do. Let's say that I have a bright tone now, how it's going to sound. I don't know for you, maybe you really like this, but for me it's too over the top, it's too exciting to the ears. I find it much better when it's just like darker, warmer a little bit. So you can always judge and choose, maybe not all the way to the left for a 0 on the tone, but a darker tone is generally better, I think. And the third element is the delay pedal. So on my Strymon timeline, I'm using the ice mode, which is like the equivalent of a shimmer mode, but for delay. We can add intervals that are regenerative on top. And in this one, I'm adding a perfect fifth interval, as you can see. As for the rest of the parameters, I'm using a lot of repeats so that it's going to ring for very, very long. The mix knob, we're going to go to taste. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. And then the filter knob is all the way to the right this time, because it's the opposite of the tone knob, right? It's dark tone on the left and super bright tone on the right. But now it's to the left, it's unfiltered, and to the right, it's filtered, right? If that makes sense. And then the grit and speed and depth knob are all at noon. So it's gonna sound like this. Right? So it can sound weird a little bit because it resonates for a long time, and it adds a perfect fifth interval. And when you're playing chords, it's going to duplicate many notes, and that could potentially clash with your key, right? So if I'm playing, I'm going to remove it for an instant. If I'm playing a D major chord, right, the D note, the fifth interval is going to be an A, which is already in the chord, but the A interval is going to make an E, which is in my key but not in my chord. And the F sharp is going to make a B, right? So you have that, but you're going to hear do, 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 which works right in our key. But some of the chords are going to create intervals that are a little weird. So that's why I'm going to put just the amount that I need so that you don't really perceive it. It's just going to expand the soundscape without sounding too weird. So if I try it once again, but I add the modulation pedal and I add the reverb pedal, it's going to sound like this. Wow, so it's even more expansive. The delay is doing two things right here. The interval is like filling the soundscape even more to make it sound full, but also the added repeats make it sound even longer and more consistent when you are doing your light strumming right here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to play with the mix knob to add just the right amount of the fifth interval that we need, right? So I'm going to scroll through it and play my D major chord, and you're going to hear the difference as I add it, right? Super nice, and I'm going to show you why I'm not adding the fifth interval in the shimmer itself. So here I can choose octave plus a fifth, and I also have my lower octave in it. So it sounds like this. It also sounds larger than life, but listen to that tail right here. There are some weird things happening in the background because the fifth is like too present in here. So that's why I'm keeping the fifth for the delay so that it's just more subtle in the middle and I can really control the amount that I want to add. So to me, the sweet spot is right here, right around the middle for the mix knob. It's just subtle enough, but it adds something to it. I hope you're gonna have fun with your pedals and try these settings. If you'd like to learn more about how to create your own ambient guitar music, go check out my free mini course, A Beginner's Guide to Ambient Guitar. It's a free 45 minutes course on my website where I'm gonna show you what kinds of effects you need to get if you don't have them already, how to set up the most popular ambient guitar tones with your pedals, how to get started layering them and creating your own simple songs. It's totally free. You just have to click on the first link in the description box and check it out. It's my gift to you for watching my video until the end. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, au revoir.